A 911 call lights up the switchboard in Northport, Florida on a sweltering summer night in 2023. The caller's voice is loud, indignant, claiming he's been attacked. But as the police race to the scene, a darker truth begins to emerge. One that'll make you question who's really the victim. This story, sent in by one of you, is ripped straight from body cam footage. A raw, unfiltered look at a night that spiraled into betrayal and violence. Buckle up, because what happened on Kimmer Road will leave you speechless. The neon sign of Linkster's Bar flickers on Tamiami Trail, its red glow cutting through the humid haze. Inside, the air smells of stale beer and fried wings, the jukebox blaring a tired country tune. Shane Ryan Hurley, 39, leans against the bar, a whiskey in hand, his laugh loud enough to drown out the chatter. He's a big guy, broad-shouldered, with a faded tattoo of a skull on his forearm and a rap sheet that could fill a notebook. Across from him sits Claire Evans, his girlfriend of 7 years, nursing a vodka soda. Her blonde hair is pulled back, but a few strands stick to her sweat-damp forehead. To the regulars, they're just another couple, but tonight, something's off. Claire's smile is forced, her eyes darting to Shane's phone every time it buzzes. What's got her so on edge? You'll want to hear this. Shane's mind is a storm of bravado and paranoia. He's always been the king of his own world, a guy who talks his way out of trouble and bends people to his will. Tonight he's riding high, tossing back drinks and charming the bartender with stories of his wild youth, bar fights, joyrides, nights in county lockup. But Claire's quiet, and that bugs him. He catches her glancing at his phone, and it sets him off. She's checking up on me again, he thinks, his jaw tightening. Thinks she's smarter than me. He's been texting an ex, Mallory. Nothing serious, just enough to keep his ego fed. Claire's suspicions are a threat to his control, and Shane doesn't like threats. He leans in, his voice low but sharp. What's your problem, huh? Claire flinches but doesn't answer. The tension's building, and it's about to boil over. Claire's thoughts are a tangled mess of love and fear. She met Shane at a beach bonfire 7 years ago, back when he was all charm. Blue eyes that sparkled under the stars, a grin that made her heart race. He was a rebel, a guy who lived loud and loved hard, promising her the world. She fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker. Those early days were magic. Late-night drives down Gulf Coast highways, stealing kisses in the rain, dreaming of a life together. But the cracks showed fast. Shane's temper flared when he drank, his words cutting deeper than any bruise. Yet Claire stayed. He's not always like this, she tells herself, clinging to memories of the man she fell for. He'll change. He has to. Tonight, though, as his voice grows sharper, she feels the familiar dread creeping in. Why can't she walk away? The bar's closing, and the couple stumbles out into the muggy night. Shane's truck is parked under a flickering streetlight, its paint chipped from years of neglect. Claire's head is spinning, not just from the vodka, but from the argument brewing. Shane's ranting about her attitude, his voice echoing off the empty street. She tries to calm him, but he's too far gone, his ego bruised by her silence. She thinks she can disrespect me? He fumes, slamming the truck door. I'll show her who's in charge. Claire slides into the passenger seat, her hands trembling. She knows this mood, when Shane's eyes go cold and his words turn to venom. She's seen it before, nights that ended in tears or worse. But love, or whatever's left of it, keeps her glued to the seat. They peel out of the lot, tires screeching, and head toward Kimmer Road, a quiet stretch of Northport lined with modest homes and overgrown palms. The radio's off, the only sound the hum of the engine and Shane's muttered curses. Claire's phone buzzes, a text from a friend, nothing more. But Shane snatches it, scrolling through her messages. Who's this, huh? You talking to someone else? He snaps, his voice dripping with accusation. Claire's heart races. She tries to explain, but he cuts her off, yelling about exes, Melissa, Mallory, names he drags up to deflect his own guilt. The truck swerves as he gestures wildly, and Claire grips the door handle, her mind screaming, "Get out! Just run!" But she doesn't. 7 years of loyalty, of hoping he'd be the man she once knew, hold her in place. Back at their house on Kimmer Road, the porch light buzzes, casting jagged shadows across the cracked driveway. Shane's still raging, his voice a low growl as he parks. Claire's had enough. She throws open the door, her bare feet hitting the pavement, and starts walking, anywhere but here. Shane's out in a flash, chasing her down. "Where you going, Claire? We ain't done," he shouts, his boots crunching gravel. She turns, tears streaming, and yells back, accusing him of cheating, of breaking her heart. That's when it happens. Shane grabs her arm, hard, his fingers digging into her skin. Claire pulls away, stumbling, her elbow scraping the ground. Her glasses fall, shattering on the asphalt. Shane freezes, his mind racing. She's gonna make this my fault, he thinks, panic mixing with rage. Not this time. Inside Shane's head, a plan forms. He's been here before. Cops, charges, courtrooms. He's walked away every time, thanks to his silver tongue and Claire's silence. If I call first, I'm the victim, he calculates, pulling out his phone. She hit me. That's the story. He dials 911, his voice loud and rehearsed. "My girlfriend attacked me, man. She punched me in the face." He paces the driveway, glancing at Claire, who's crumpled on the curb, sobbing. "Keep crying, sweetheart," he thinks, smirking. "Cops'll eat it up. Shane's no stranger to manipulation. Prison taught him how to play the system, how to twist the truth until it bends in his favor." Claire's marks, her bruised arm, her scraped elbow. Those'll be her fault, he decides. She fell. She's drunk. Anything but the truth. Claire's world is collapsing. As she sits on the curb, her arm throbbing, she's drowning in memories. Shane wasn't always this monster. There was a time he'd surprise her with flowers stolen from a neighbor's yard, when he'd hold her close and whisper promises of a better life. Those moments kept her tethered, even as the fights grew worse, as his hands left marks she hid with long sleeves. He's all I have, she thinks, her breath hitching. Northport's a small town. Everyone knows Shane, his charm, his reputation. Leaving him means losing her place here, her friends, her sense of home. Fear grips her, not just of Shane, but of being alone. What if I can't make it without him? Her love, twisted by years of abuse, blinds her to the exit she's too scared to take. Sirens wail in the distance, red and blue lights slicing through the night. Shane's pacing, his voice louder now, practicing his story for the cops. Claire's frozen, her panic attack tightening its grip. She knows how this goes. Shane's lies, her silence, another night swept under the rug. But something's different this time. The pain in her arm, the blood on her skin, the broken glasses. They're real, undeniable. He did this, she thinks, a spark of clarity cutting through her fear. But will they believe me? The patrol car pulls up, its headlights washing over the scene. Deputy Cameron Walsh steps out, his body cam-rolling, ready to untangle the mess. What he's about to hear will change everything. But whose story will hold up? This is only half the tale, folks. A night that started with drinks and laughter is now a battlefield of lies and pain. Shane's betting on his charm to save him, but Claire's bruises tell a different story. What happens when the cops dig deeper? Hit that like button and stick around for part 2, because the truth is uglier than you think. And let's talk. Have you ever been caught in a toxic relationship where love blinded you to the red flags? What kept you there? Fear, hope, or something else? Drop your thoughts below, because abuse thrives in silence, and it's time we break it. Subscribe and stay sharp. Red and blue lights pulse across Kimmer Road, Northport, Florida, as Deputy Cameron Walsh steps out of his patrol car. It's past midnight, the air heavy with humidity and tension. Shane Ryan Hurley, 39, is pacing the driveway of his rundown house, yelling about being attacked by his girlfriend, Claire Evans. But Claire, crumpled on the curb across the street, tells a different story, one written in the blood on her arm and the bruise on her jaw. This is part 2 of a true crime saga sent in by one of you, captured on raw body cam footage. If you thought the lies were thick before, wait until the cops start unraveling the truth. Let's dive back in. Walsh approaches Shane, his boots crunching on the gravel, body cam catching every word. Shane's a live wire, his face flushed from whiskey and rage. "She hit me, man, right in the face," he shouts, pointing to his cheek, though the skin's unmarked. His voice is a practiced mix of outrage and victimhood, honed from years of dodging consequences. They'll buy it, he thinks, his mind racing. Cops always do. Shane's been to prison, assault, theft, you name it, and he's learned the game. Call first, control the story, paint Claire as the crazy one. Her tears, her panic attack, they're just props in his narrative. She's weak, he smirks to himself, won't say a word. But Walsh isn't biting, his eyes narrowing as Shane's story frays. Across the street, Claire's a shadow of herself. Her blonde hair hangs limp, her right arm streaked with blood from a scrape that stings with every move. Her jaw throbs, a bruise blooming where Shane grabbed her. Without her glasses, the world's a blur, but the fear is crystal clear. Deputy Walsh kneels beside her, his voice calm but firm. "Claire, how'd you get those marks?" She flinches, glancing at Shane, still ranting in the distance. Her mind's a war zone, love, shame, and terror colliding. If I tell the truth, he'll come for me, she thinks, her breath shallow. But if I don't, this never ends. 7 years with Shane have taught her his patterns, the apologies, the flowers, the promises. Each time she believed him, because the alternative, facing life alone, felt scarier than his fists. Claire's memories flood back as Walsh waits for her answer. She thinks of their first year, when Shane was her world. He'd take her to Patty's pub, spinning stories that made the whole bar laugh, his arm around her like she was his queen. He had a way of making her feel seen, special, in a town where she'd always been invisible. But the drinking changed him. Hard liquor turned his charm to cruelty, his love to control. The first time he hit her, 2 years in, he cried harder than she did, begging forgiveness. She stayed, convinced it was a one-off, that the Shane she loved was still in there. Now, as she sits on this curb, her arm bleeding, she wonders how she lost herself. He made me feel alive, she thinks, tears falling. But at what cost? Shane's still spinning his tale, his voice echoing across the street. "She's drunk, man. She fell, ran off. That's how she got all scraped up." He's loud, confident, but there's a crack in his armor, a nervous glance at Claire, a hitch in his breath. She better keep her mouth shut, he thinks, his fists clenching. Shane's always relied on Claire's loyalty, her fear of him, to skate through these moments. Last year she filed a domestic violence report but dropped it, too scared to face him in court. That victory fuels him now, makes him bold. "Cops can't touch me," he tells himself, even as Walsh's questions get sharper. But Shane's missing something crucial. Claire's not the same woman she was a year ago. Walsh presses Shane, his body cam catching the sweat on Shane's brow. "So, she punched you, and you did nothing?" "Not a thing." Shane nods too fast, his story unraveling. "Yeah, man, I backed off. She's the one who went crazy." But Walsh has seen guys like Shane before, bullies who play victim when the heat's on. He turns back to Claire, who's struggling to breathe through her panic attack. "Claire, I need you to tell me what happened," he says, his voice steady. She hesitates, her eyes locked on Shane. Then, something shifts. A spark of defiance, born from years of pain, pushes her to speak. "He grabbed me," she whispers, her voice barely audible. "He wouldn't let me leave." Those words are a grenade, and Shane doesn't even see it coming. Claire's confession spills out, halting but raw. She tells Walsh about the fight in the truck, how Shane raged over a text, accusing her of cheating while hiding his own secrets. She tried to walk away, but he chased her, grabbed her arm, shoved her to the ground. Her elbow hit the pavement, her glasses broke, her jaw bruised when he gripped her face to make her listen. "He's done this before," she says, her voice breaking. "I never pressed charges because I thought I could fix him." Walsh's face hardens, his hand resting on his radio. Shane's still yelling, oblivious, but the tide's turning. She's talking, Shane realizes, his smirk fading. She's actually talking. For the first time, he feels a flicker of fear. The deputy calls for backup, his radio crackling with codes Claire doesn't understand. Another patrol car rolls up, its lights painting the street in stark reds and blues. Shane's losing it now, his voice shrill as he senses the cuffs coming. "You're gonna believe her? She's lying, man. Look at her, she's a mess." But Walsh isn't swayed. He's seen the marks on Claire's arm, her busted lip, the terror in her eyes. Shane's unmarked face and cocky attitude don't add up. "Turn around, Shane," Walsh says, pulling out his handcuffs. Shane laughs, a hollow sound, but complies, still talking. "I'll be out by Monday, bro. See you in court." His bravado's a mask, hiding the panic underneath. They can't pin this on me, he thinks, but the click of the cuffs says otherwise. Claire's mother arrives, her sedan screeching to a stop. She runs to Claire, wrapping her in a hug as paramedics check her injuries. A scraped elbow, a bruised jaw, scratches across her chest. Claire's shaking, but there's a weight lifting. For years she's carried Shane's secrets, his rage, her own shame. Tonight she spoke, and it feels like breaking chains. The paramedics offer to take her to the hospital, but she shakes her head, clinging to her mom. Shane's voice carries from the patrol car, a string of curses and threats. "You pigs got nothing. I'll be out in no time." The deputies ignore him, their focus on Claire. Her mother whispers, "You're done with him, baby. You're done." But is she? 7 years don't vanish in one night. Shane's charged with domestic battery and resisting arrest, a $25,000 bond set by the court. As he's driven away, his smirk returns, convinced he'll charm his way out like always. But the body cam footage, Claire's statement, and her visible injuries are a noose tightening around him. Claire's left on Kimmer Road, the night quiet now except for the hum of crickets. She's free, but the scars, physical and emotional, will linger. She thinks of Shane's laugh, his promises, the man she loved. How did I stay so long? She wonders, guilt and relief warring inside her. Northport's a small town, and Shane's shadow looms large. Walking away will take more than one brave night. That's the end of this saga, folks, but the questions linger. Shane thought he could game the system, but Claire's courage flipped the script. Who do you think was in the wrong here? Could you spot the red flags in a relationship like theirs, or does fear make them invisible? Think about it. Abuse doesn't always look like bruises. It's control, manipulation, the slow erosion of who you are. Have you ever felt trapped, unable to leave, paralyzed by love or fear? Share your stories in the comments, because speaking out is how we shine a light on the darkness. Subscribe and stay sharp.